This is TWiT.
And you actually you posted this in our company Slack, and I thought it was quite the story. It's all about Ring, the Ring video
EFF.
doorbells. They're going to pilot a program in Jackson, Mississippi, with the local police to live stream Amazon's Ring cameras. Basically, obviously, as a Ring owner, you'd have to opt in, but it's really an interesting problem because suddenly you've put live CCTV cameras throughout the neighborhood.
Yeah, it's not all about the people that actually own Ring, though,
Yeah.
It's the people across the street that doesn't have a Ring.
Here's what the Electronic Frontier Foundation says. This serves two police purposes. First, it allows police departments to avoid the cost of buying surveillance equipment and puts that burden onto consumers by convincing them they need cameras to keep their property safe. Second, it evades the natural reaction of fear and distrust many people would have if they learned police were putting up dozens of cameras on their block, one for every house. But, of course, it captures footage from your front door of you coming and going from your house, your neighbors taking out the trash, dog walkers, delivery people. And that could be live streamed into monitors scrutinized around the clock by the authorities. And even if you don't want... Or by your
stalker. Or by, so yes, but access to something like that is really problematic, even though, and we have a history of case law that talks about, if your garbage is at your curb, it's kind of publicly available. People can root through it and grab stuff out of it. So it really, walking down the street is a public activity, but is sitting on your front porch?
Yeah.
Yes. The alleyway behind your house? Less so?
So there are cameras in downtown cities all over the country put up by the police. Right.
But they're crap cameras. Those things are absolute crap. And
so it's okay because the video's terrible? Is that what you're saying?
I know firsthand because I had an incident a couple of years ago back in North Carolina where someone ran into my car. And we needed some sort of evidence to figure this thing out. Well, no, someone caused another person to run into my car. It was sort of a chain reaction. And of course, they just hauled ass out of the parking lot and went on about their day.
Oh, great.
And you go and look at the camera, you can see the camera right there, 40 feet away from you up in the air. But the resolution was crap-tastic. Couldn't see anything.
Okay. That's an interesting... defensive police cameras, I guess. It's okay because they're crappy.
Just there as a somewhat of a mental deterrent.
Just because you see the camera up there.
Those things are so bad on resolution, they would just carry on with their business.
But they don't have to be anymore, clearly. They can be high def.
And the Ring cameras aren't awesome from far away.
No, because they're very wide angle, because they're designed for your front, your front stoop.
Right.
So they're super wide.
Is it only the doorbells, or will they also, because Ring also makes IP cameras for outside your house?
It's Ring cameras. It's everything.
Okay, so it's the cameras, not just
the doorbells. Yeah. So the cameras are much better quality, and they are not quite so wide. This is really philosophically a great subject because. Yeah, you're right, Ann. The police cameras downtown are there as a deterrent. Certainly the camera in a 7-Eleven is there as a deterrent as much as anything. Well, we're capturing what you do. Mm-hmm. They're not on suburban streets or, it helps police.
Wait, y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all. If you're looking at the ZDNet story,
no,
is that what we're reading?
this is EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation.
The story says, the ZDNet story about this program that we're talking about actually adds a clarification that Amazon's Ring product was cited as an example option. And Ring says, this is not a Ring program, and Ring is not working with any of the companies or the city in connection with this program.
Yeah, it's interesting because Jackson, Mississippi actually banned face recognition. So it's not...
That doesn't, but that doesn't mean they can't pull... You may not digitally scan all the faces in these things, but you can just have someone look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically,
At the
original.
same time, Jackson is
You're
still facing, what was it, like 100 deaths this year, homicides or something like that in that particular area, and they're trying to figure out a way to crack down. So I get the premise, but yeah, I don't know. Still a little half and half on this.
Yeah, so I'm trying to. What's your final view, Ant, about this? Good, bad.
I get trying to lock down and help keep the citizens safe and have some way of catching the wrongdoers because you have an eye out there that can witness them and find them. I get that, but at the same time, the neighbors across the street that's just wanting to sit on the porch and have a whiskey and just hang out, they're being watched too, and didn't really ask to be watched.
So, but isn't this properly? I'm going to play Stacey right now. We should have a discussion with our neighbors, right? Basically, if you're Gladys Kravitz, is that a reference you get at all?
Yes, I got it. I'm the only one on this
know.
panel besides you who remembers Gladys Kravitz.
Is that Lenny Kravitz's mom?
In Bewitched. In Bewitched. Remember the nosy neighbor in Bewitched?
You know Bewitched?
No.
Have you ever seen Bewitched?
I've seen Bewitched, but didn't remember the name.
But you remember. But okay, so if you've seen Bewitched, it was certainly a part of a lot of episodes. Was this nosy neighbor because she was always snooping around, and Samantha was always worried she'd caught to the fact that she was a witch. That was. I'm sorry.
That was the shtick. Yeah,
that was the shtick.
So anyway, now everybody's Gladys Kravitz, right? Everybody has this. But if you do it and your neighbors say, I really wish you wouldn't do that. Or thanks for doing that. I'm glad you caught the criminal coming to take away my lawn sign. I don't know, but that's at some point it's a negotiation. You're free to shoot from your house, whatever you can see. There's no law against that.
There are actually efforts, and I'm trying to remember, where you actually have to, with cameras on your property, you have to make sure they only look at your property lines. And there actually have been some cases on this. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, really?
In fact, I would expect.
Stacey, would that be true of the street or of your next door neighbor?
This is for your next door neighbor. So
Next door neighbor. Okay. Right. You can't shoot through your neighbor's window. Yeah.
Well, or their backyard. I think this case was around, backyard. And forgive me for not remembering the actual case. I can try to look it up.
How dare you not remember?
But, first of all, I think, and I've talked about this. This kind of plays to that idea of consent. One, when I put doorbell cameras or any cameras outside, I make sure I've got a sticker saying, hey, there's a camera here. Be aware. Two, I do try to make sure it doesn't catch my neighbors. But I do that just because I'm trying to be nice. And I do catch my neighbors, or I did, not now. But my old house, there's a walking path that went right by my backyard, which is where we had our camera facing. And, I could see parents and their kids walk by, dogs pooping in the lawn. Just all kinds of stuff.
Does it make it better if, and it is the case here, the police only access the video after a crime has been committed?
I would, what would make it better is if it went away after 24 hours. If it were constantly
Or there's some
refreshed.
limit to the amount of time that they could access it.
I feel like
24 hours is pretty quick.
I wouldn't say 24 hours.
What if I get murdered in my house and you don't discover the body for a few days or a week? You would still like to see who came and went, right?
Yeah.
All right. You can have it for...
Although if I get murdered in my house, I just want you to know it'll almost certainly be my wife.
For telling her to shut up on the most important
we
day.
may not blame her. That's the other part.
And she's got a very credible excuse.
You had it coming.
Be like,
But he was an a-hole. Never mind. Forget it. Sorry. You're free to go. He just wouldn't stop talking. So that is an important qualification. I'm actually looking at the original story from the Jackson Free Press. It is not a program from Ring, but Ring doorbells will be used. Part of the original Ring program, right, which is to give police access to this. The city council signed off on entering the pilot program at its Tuesday meeting. The equipment needed to allow the center access to the cameras is being provided by two corporations, Pylium and Fusus. Terrible names. And they, in fact, can use Ring cameras. The Jackson Free Press story had a picture of a Ring video doorbell right in the front of the story. But it isn't.
Ring loves these things.
Yeah, poor Ring. But Ring is somewhat culpable because that's part of the Ring thing is that you can have your video submitted to the police. So
anybody? I was going to say, whenever anyone asks for my advice on their doorbell cameras, I actually tell them, I'm like, hey, here are the issues I have with Ring, and that will make you complicit with certain things. Some people think that's a feature. Some people don't care, and other people are like, oh, God, no. So I think the key is to understand what it could be used for if you're purchasing it.
Is it fair to say that it really comes down to whether you trust law enforcement in your area, right? If we trust them, if they're trusted helpers to protect our safety, trusted public safety officers, we want them to have this tool because we trust that they won't misuse it. And so some of this complaint comes from the fact that trust in local law enforcement is diminished.
Like facial recognition, like data, like all like street cams, like all kinds of things.
And how you approach this so really is going to depend on whether you feel that they're trustworthy or not, right? If I think our Petaluma police are great. I think it'd be great to give them this tool, and I trust them not to misuse it. On the other hand, I'm fat and rich and white, so maybe I'm the wrong person to ask.
Yeah. I think, whoever has trust in. I mean, if you're on top, you're likely to trust people more because
they're there to protect me. God damn it, that's their job. I am the power structure they were created to protect. Please don't forget it.